Today, Trump, tech and money.
3, 2, 1.
Breaking moments ago, the United States has issued new sanctions on 4 companies operating in Venezuela's oil sector and identified 4 oil tankers as blocked property. The Treasury Department says these ships, some of which are part of the shadow fleet serving Venezuela, continue to provide financial resources that fuel Maduro's illegitimate narco-terrorist regime.
It's years behind schedule and tens of billions of dollars over budget, but oil is now flowing through the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion.
Expanding Canada's oil and gas infrastructure has long been a contentious topic, but tough tariffs have forced the country to take a closer look at its sovereignty and self-reliance on its own resources.
April 2nd, 2025, a day that will go down in history as the moment America lost control of its energy future. In the dense forests of British
Drop in the
Columbia,
comments if
there
you
is a
think we lost
pipeline that is
control.
now carrying oil in a new direction, away from America's hungry refineries and straight to the Pacific. After decades of feeding the U.S. economy at a bargain, Canada was done playing second fiddle. So while American politicians were obsessed with tariffs and trade wars, a Chinese titan named Rang Sheng quietly slipped into Canada's oil heartland, signing contracts, securing over 800,000 barrels of Canadian oil to ship to Asia. Why does it matter? Because America's energy security, economic stability, and global influence just took a massive hit. And the one person who could have stopped it, he didn't even see it coming. Ready to see how this could change everything? Watch closely. The fight is just getting started. Trump's tariff gambit explodes. Trump thought a 10% tariff would bring Canada to its knees. Instead, it shoved them into China's arms. What began as a campaign stunt to reassert economic control spiraled into an international humiliation. Announcing a 10% import tariff on Canadian oil and gas, President Trump expected Canada to blink. He expected Prime Minister Mark Carney to back down. Instead, Carney doubled down. Within weeks, Canadian energy executives were rerouting crude destined for American refineries toward Asian ports. Rather than demanding leniency, Suncor, Cenovus, and Canadian Natural Resources Limited struck back by accelerating deals with Chinese, Indian, and Japanese buyers. And unlike American buyers, who negotiated hard and added political strings, these new customers simply paid more. The economic math was simple. Asia needed energy. Canada needed leverage. Trump gave them both. Then came China's next move. That's when Washington really started to sweat. China's oil offensive begins in Calgary. They didn't bring tanks, they brought tankers. What looked like a quiet commercial expansion turned out to be the opening shot in a new kind of energy war. Rangsheng Prochemical wasn't just setting up shop in Calgary. They were embedding themselves in the heart of North American energy. With an office perched inside a sleek downtown tower, Rangsheng began locking down deals. First with Suncor, then with Cenovus, and soon after with Canadian Natural Resources. Their goal? To secure 10% of the Trans Mountain expansion's total shipping capacity by the year 2026. And they weren't just buying oil, they were buying options. The shipping terms gave Rangsheng what American refineries never had: flexibility. With free on-board agreements, they could divert tankers mid-voyage, sending oil to Japan or India depending on where profits were highest. Analysts
Gas
at
is
Standard
definitely
& Poor's
cheaper in
Global
America.
warned this alone could earn Rangsheng up to $3 per barrel in arbitrage profits. The stakes were bigger than profits. Canada, long cast as America's energy sidekick, was now being courted as a sovereign supplier. In the words of one Alberta oil executive, this isn't just a trade shift, it's a diplomatic divorce. China wasn't stealing oil, it was offering a new alliance. And Canada, weary of years under America's economic thumb, was finally ready to say yes. The United States had just lost its monopoly on the fuel of the future, the death of America's energy discount. American refiners had treated Canadian crude like a discount bin treasure. With few routes to global markets, Canada had no choice but to accept lower prices. On average, U.S. buyers paid $15 less per barrel for oil from Alberta than they did from anywhere else. It was the unspoken deal that underpinned North America's energy economy. That deal is now dead, with interest. The Trans Mountain expansion changed the game overnight, tripling capacity to 890,000 barrels per day. The pipeline now ships enough oil to fill 50 Olympic-sized swimming pools daily. None of that oil needs to flow south. Early shipments already reached South Korea in August of 2024. Japan and India are next. With demand in Asia outpacing supply, Canada's once captive crude is now a global commodity with bidding wars to match. For American refiners, the impact is brutal. Not only must they now pay full global prices, they're also competing with buyers who don't have to worry about Trump's erratic tariffs. One executive at a Louisiana refinery called the new situation untenable. Consumers are feeling it. According to Goldman Sachs, the average price at the pump could rise by as much as 80 cents per gallon if current trends hold. That means higher costs not just for gasoline, but for everything that depends on it: transport, manufacturing, food delivery, even electricity in some regions. Oil was just the beginning. The next hit came from Canada's gas, and it was nuclear. LNG Canada unleashes a new energy superpower. It's not just pipelines anymore. Canada is about to dominate the seas. While the Trans Mountain expansion rewired North America's oil arteries, the real disruption was quietly waiting on the British Columbia coastline. In the shadows of Kitimat's snow-capped mountains, the mammoth $40 billion liquefied natural gas facility, known as LNG Canada, began final operations in late 2025. Shell and PetroChina led the charge, and together they flipped the global gas equation upside down. For the first time in history, Canada could ship natural gas directly to Asia without touching American soil. 14 million tons annually. That was the initial output projection, bound for ports in Japan, China, and Germany. This wasn't just a commercial leap. It was geopolitical theater at full volume. The Indo-Pacific, once dominated by Qatari and Russian gas, now had a new player.
I just said, but Bobby, leave the oil to me. We have more liquid gold, oil and gas. We have more liquid gold than any country in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia. Bobby, stay away from the liquid gold. Other than that, go have a good time, Bobby. We're going to be paying down debt. We're going to be reducing taxes. We can do things that nobody else can do. Nobody else is going to be able to do it. China doesn't have what we have. Nobody has what we have. But we have the greatest people also. Maybe that's the most important thing.
President Trump, despite your blockade, 2 oil tankers have reached Venezuela, and more are coming. US sanctions haven't stopped them, some from China, as they continue to Venezuelan waters. Facing mounting pressure, Venezuela's state oil company cut production by 15%. Recently, a US drone strike hit a Venezuelan dock, the first direct attack in this operation. They claim 30 actions against vessels since September, with casualties, yet provides no evidence these boats were involved in illicit activities. Claims Venezuela owes oil to the US, rooted in the early 2000s when Venezuela reclaimed its oil industry. The first tanker was seized December 10th. This isn't about illegal trade, it's about controlling Venezuela's resources and undermining its sovereignty. Despite this, Venezuela stands firm. The people focus on self-reliance, producing their own food and managing resources independently. Venezuelan communes ensure communities remain resilient. The question, will the world allow external forces to control Venezuela's resources, or stand with Venezuela's right to determine its own future?
There y'all have it, the Tech Wealth Report.